how do you deal with imposter syndrome? When did you get dick discipline? Do you think women still believe in men?
The Podical Sons.
What's up, y'all? I'm Marvelous.
And I'm not your average Joseph.
And we are the Podical Sons. Let's start the show. This show is hilariously inappropriate, but intellectual beyond belief. Let's get it popping. The GOAT, Dwayne Morgan, is back in the building.
Back in the building.
Yes, happy to be here.
We happy to have you, man. It's been a minute. I was looking at it and stuff, but it was almost 2 years cooked.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I know you've been clocking, doing some things.
I didn't realize it was that long.
I looked at it, I was like, what's the last time you... I'm like, damn.
Episode 234.
Yeah, it was like in that time.
We're at 330. We're at 336 right now.
Right?
Okay,
Previously on the Podical Sons. So we are here. All right, before we get into everything and stuff, whatever, like, comment, subscribe, all the above, all streaming platforms possible. On the socials, at Podical Sons Podcast. All streaming platforms, Podical Sons Podcast again. And you can see these lovely faces on YouTube and Spotify, wherever your video viewing pleasure is possible.
You know how we do.
All right. So what's up, Dwayne? What brought you joy this past week, man?
This past week, I think just being back home from my trip to Africa, reconnecting with family, with my daughter, and just being able to reflect on the experience that I had overseas. And I think also flying back first class too. That was real nice.
Okay,
so you know what I mean? So it was like,
Have you done that before?
this was the first trip where I've actually done that. And
Oh.
and it was a very interesting thing because it's like, there's so much internal stuff where you're just like, oh man, do I deserve to be up in the front with everybody else?
Right.
And all these kinds of things. And it's like, man, I work so hard. I have so many accolades. Of course I deserve, but you have to get out of your own way. And then comes the money piece. And you're like, but can I justify, the money and blah, blah, blah. And eventually I just said, you know what? Let me just do it. And it's like, it ruined travel for me, to be honest. Because
you done been to the top. Crumbs will never do.
yeah, I don't even know how you go backwards. Like the level of service, the food, the everything.
The
I'm
leg
like,
room. The leg room.
the leg room, the seat that turns into a bed. I'm like, man, how do I go back after this? So,
Right. Yeah.
so it brought me joy, but it also planted some other things as well, right? So,
Not
so
mad at you.
Those are happy victories. We call them
yeah,
happy victories.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. They're necessary victories because once you've done it, then you're over that hurdle, right?
Right,
So it's like
right.
the next time you don't have to think so hard about pulling the trigger and making it happen. You're just like, yeah, I've done this already. All right, so you can do it. You know what I mean? So
Okay, so let me ask you, since we're here, how do you deal with imposter syndrome? Like you said, you've known that you've been doing. You're not a rookie to this, right? You've been doing this from think about like your first poetry competition to like even coming back from this trip and stuff. There's so much of time of you where you were and stuff, whatever. You witnessed the wins, the losses, the ups, the downs. Why would you still think that you didn't deserve to buy a first class ticket?
I think a lot of it is tied into how we're programmed as Black people.
Okay.
And part of it is that so many of us grow up experiencing poverty, experiencing scarcity, experiencing parents who are like, no, you can't spend money on that. You got to save and put it in the bank and do all of these kinds of things.
Right.
That, we forget that we're supposed to have nice things.
Right.
We're supposed to have good experiences. We're supposed to make memories that are positive. It can't always just be squeezing out the little bit of what's left in the dish soap and putting water in it so it stretches longer. It's like, go buy another dish soap. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's getting to that point where you can let go of the scarcity that our parents experience as immigrants coming here and realize I'm not living with that same level of scarcity, but it's so ingrained because it's all I've known growing up. Growing up, I never knew abundance. I never knew, oh yeah, let's just go and do everything had to be planned out and you had to watch all the pennies and all these kinds of things. And I'm not saying to be irresponsible and not do that, but I'm not living the same reality that my parents lived.
Right.
But the scarcity that they knew has been ingrained in how I have been raised.
Right.
So part of my work now as an adult is to try to filter through all of that and let go of a lot of that so that I can actually embrace where I'm at in life and actually, have nice things and do nice things and expose my daughter to things that I never would have dreamed as a kid I could be exposed to. But, my daughter has more stamps in her passport than many adults that I know.
That's
and it's like, you know what? For her 16th birthday, we did a daddy-daughter trip. Like, we went to Kenya, we went to Zanzibar.
Right,
and it's
I saw
like,
the photos.
and it's like, you know what? Just doing stuff so that she could be like, oh, you know what? I can dream. I can imagine. I can strive for these things. Because again, when you grow up in scarcity, what are your dreams? Just not to be poor.
I have so many questions. Let's start with this one. I'm assuming your daughter is a daddy's girl.
Yes.
With that being said now, whatever, you as a great man you are, we're not taking away nothing from you, but you've kind of set a bar in your daughter's world. How do you think like a young man and stuff, whatever, trying to seek your daughter like later on in life would be able to measure up to a man like yourself?
It's really not for me to think about him. It's for me to think about being the best example for my daughter.
Right.
And from that, she has to determine for herself, well, what are my standards? What are my expectations? If these are the things I've already done, like, again, it was deliberate bringing her on trips to Africa because no man can't say, yo, let's go to Eaton Center, and she's going to think that's a flex.
Right.
It's like, Eaton Center? Yeah. Like, what are we talking about here? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's me doing my part to set a certain standard, but then at the end of the day, she's a young adult. She has to figure it out on her own. I can't be all up in it, right? I just have to sit back and know I did what I'm supposed to do. Now it's up to her to make her choices.
Would part of the teaching of, like, I guess, looking for a possible partner, would that fall on the shoulders of the parents? Because I look at it stuff as where, even right now, like us dating or something like that, it's kind of like we're a reflection of our parents and of what our upbringings and stuff were. So if a standard is set for a girl looking like, well, my daddy took me to Kenya. Like, you can't take me to Eaton Center and stuff whatever and think you're going to impress me and stuff whatever. You got to do better. And the man's like, well, goddamn, like, I don't know if I have a Kenya like credit limit or something to surf on to kind of top it, right? And it was like, as a father, would you like tell your daughter to, like, they equal yoke, character, or better than you?
No, I think you always have to strive for better, but at the same time, you can't always know what packaging love is going to come in. Right. So you also have to be open to the fact that love might come in something that's lower than your standard. It could be equal. It could be above. But the bottom line is you always have to be able to dream. Right. Like when,
that's true.
I rolled up here in a BMW, but I know what it's like to drive a Honda Accord. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I was in the Honda Accord, I'm like, yo, one day I want to be in this car. Right. So even if you find yourself in the Honda Accord, doesn't mean you're always going to be in the Honda Accord. And it doesn't mean that anything's wrong with the Honda Accord.
Right.
The Honda Accord gets you from point A to point B. You put the gas in it the same way, but you could still dream or have a vision for yourself that is beyond that.
Oh, some might even say without having a Honda Accord, you may not have never gotten to that BMW.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So right, so my thing is to just raise her with the values to know that a Honda and a BMW are still vehicles that get you from point A to point B.
I like that.
I like that too.
You know what I mean? And it's like, so doesn't mean, oh, I'm settling or I'm doing whatever if I'm a Honda. If you find love in the Honda, find love in the Honda. Because we live in a world where it's so hard to find love, to find acceptance.
Well, we live in a world currently, not to cut you, but it's kind of like, I heard a line and stuff in a song. He's like, do you want to cry in a Bentley or do you want to cry in a Honda and a Toyota Corolla? Right? And I was like, well, goddamn. Like, I mean, and this is what they're selling for, right? So it's no longer like, I want to say kind of have a character thing because they're kind of putting themselves in dispositions and stuff where it's not about the character or whatever, or the quality. It's about the quantity of the dollars.
But I mean, my question would be, why am I crying? To me, that's the most important question.
That's facts.
Not
if
I'm crying in the Toyota or the Bentley. Why am I crying?
Right.
Because if I'm crying because you punched me in my face, it doesn't matter if I'm in the Corolla or the Bentley. You punched me in my face.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the environment. Right. You violated me. I'm crying. That's what's more important. Not the environment that I'm crying in. But I think, again, we live in the world of smoke and mirrors and social media and all these kinds of things. And you think that somebody is special because they're in a Bentley. That person could be a complete ass in the Bentley,
Yeah.
right? The
Talking
man
to
who
you
loves
is-
you the most might be in the Corolla, right? So like we have to get out of that materialistic mindset and thinking that money equates to value and all these kinds of things, because a lot of times people want the money and the things, but they lack character.
Well said. Smooth, what brought you joy this week, man?
It was actually yesterday. I rounded up the family. We did a road trip to Hamilton, and we got some Galaxy burgers. Like
Nice.
the last time we all got together like that was our trip to Mexico. So it's one of those things where the daughter was like, "Hey, family road trip," you know what I mean? And she got excited. The kids were in the back. They was just talking away. Me and the wife up in front. We were just talking away, and then it went to my cousin owns the food truck.
Okay.
So it's like he was happy to see us. He's like, I'm in Hamilton. Rarely do I get to see family that come out and support me.
Right.
But here it is. It's like the whole squad is coming out. So yeah, man, we were there. We were smashing our hamburgers and French fries, giving jokes, and that was it. Yeah, that was actually the high. There was a lot of stuff that happened, but like that yesterday, it just made me feel good.
Nice. For me, the whole I got to see my mom last weekend and stuff like that, whatever. But then this week is kind of just I'm doing something and stuff for the 40th. So it's kind of like just that whole planning shit. I don't like planning no damn parties.
Right.
I'm not about this life.
Right.
But I think it's more of the whole thing of like getting together like so many of my pieces, like my peoples I consider like my knights of the round.
Right.
When they all live like, live so much separate lives. And they're all kind of like, I'm the glue to all these great people that I want to share a meal with. I think I'm looking forward to more of that.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm okay for like the whole planning of shit and everything. But like I was thinking about it, I was like, you know what? Like I'm grateful because, like in today's age and time, like people aren't eating and living healthy as they was. Like I told you that Michelle Trachtenberg actress that passed.
Right.
I'm 39, and to the fact that she died at 39 and stuff, and I'm looking like, yo, the goal line is like right there.
Yeah.
Like, I want to make it. So, and then I'm just looking at like, just thinking about things about myself and my moments, and like even on the socials, I posted photos and stuff like that of like old photos of me.
I was about to ask you, has any of the nostalgic photos started rolling in to gather for the 40th celebration?
Yeah. I got a few of those photos and everything. I looked at one person and stuff, and they were like, oh shit, like. One friend, she was a teacher, right? And she became a teacher, excuse me. And then when I saw her and stuff, whatever, I'm looking like, yo, we were like 2 years old in this photo.
Yeah.
Right? And I was looking at it and stuff because my mom, like, she gave me her photo album and stuff like that. She's like, I was telling her the thing. She's like, make sure you take the photo album back with you and stuff like that, or whatever, so you can have these photos. These are your photos now. These are my memories passed down onto you. And it was just a feeling, just even going through the photos. I'm just upset that nobody made sure my lineup was fresh. You guys are fucked up. I don't know if you had a part of it, but I love y'all all the same. So like I said, that's what brought me hella joy and stuff to week, especially on Thursday.
Nice.
So yeah, man, let's just get to these polls and stuff. Whatever. Yeah, and then let's get it shaking. All right. So first poll of the week says, does race matter when it comes to a therapist? And 81% said yes. Tell me about it. How you gentlemen feel about that? Dwayne?
I think it matters what you're going to therapy for.
I think so.
Right. Yeah.
Because not everything, needs to be, racially motivated. And I've had a therapist that wasn't Black.
Yeah.
And everything was smooth because nothing that I needed to speak about or process or figure out had really anything to do with racial whatever, right? So it worked out. I know the questions now to ask myself if I feel myself going in certain directions, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So I think it really more than anything depends on what it is that you feel like you have to speak about. And I think that kind of leads the way a bit more. So, I mean, it's definitely yes and no. I mean, so much of what we experience...
regardless, these questions are no right or wrong. Right?
Yeah. So much of what we experience is tied to our race, but at the same time, not everything is. So I think it really comes down to what it is you feel you need help with.
Well, we live in times and stuff where like identity crisis is at an all-time high, right? So I look at it as stuff as where, for me, I agree with you. Like I want to say one official therapist and then one like counselor, and both of them weren't black, right? One was a lady, one was a man and stuff, and both of them, they weren't black. And to me, it was more to the root issues.
Right.
So I looked at it, it was never really a thing and stuff, right? I think, if any case, like I said, identity politics and stuff is coming up now where like I start looking at things and stuff like, for myself, I try to be the best version of myself possible without a doubt. And I hope that other individuals that I come across stuff can see that. But if they're just blinded by a bias of, because I'm, I have a melanin tint to me, I feel like maybe a therapist and stuff that might understand from coming up in a world like myself might be, the move now. But I look at it stuff as like, where do you start from? What's your major problem? What's troubling you the most? What's keep you up at night? If you say like your bills or something like that, whatever, I don't think race will matter if it comes
universal.
to a therapist. Right? But if you're saying the stuff like, I gotta do drop-offs in the sun downtown at like 5:30 p.m. and everything, yes.
Right. Yeah.
So for me.
Again, I would agree with the same thing. Situation. I think a lot of people are, well, I won't say a lot of people, can't speak for everybody, but we have some people who are of the understanding that it takes somebody to be like you to recognize what you're going through, when a lot of times it may be somebody standing on the outside who can give a fresh perspective looking in that may be giving you an answer that you might be seeking and not really have looked at it from that perspective.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Very true.
I like, well, the perspective thing, right? Let me swing that to like rappers. You got an Eminem and stuff, whatever, being the GOAT who he is and stuff like that. Would he stand in the course of like in your GOATs and stuff, whatever, for your top 5? Because what he spoke about is still kind of like everyday people things at a time or problems and stuff. But then people always put the fact that he's white.
Yeah.
Like, he would never beat us. He would never get us. And, like, they came at him hard when he even used to wear do-rags. Right. So would you look at, like, that same kind of MO with saying race doesn't really matter?
Yeah, because, I mean, for me, what really drew me to M was not the fact that he was white or black, but the level of skill that he had in rapping.
So you need a therapist to do their job.
If you can do your job and do your job well, that's all that really matters to me.
Right. Well said. Okay. Next question of the week. Next poll said, would you hire Jess Hilarious after today? So for the folks at home that might not be too caught up on the Jess Hilarious thing, let me start and ask the gentleman and stuff here. Is The Breakfast Club one of the top media platforms for Black culture?
I would say so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll give you. I'll go with that. I'll go with that.
Somewhere else. I need to hear, because like the people might want to know. Be like, well, where somewhere else that might be for the culture and stuff like that, right?
No, I mean, because I guess what I was thinking about is when we speak about for the culture, it's very narrow.
Like pop culture kind of stuff.
Right, because Black culture is so big and there's so much of it that doesn't show up on The Breakfast Club. So there's a very specific culture, so
fair.
that is there with The Breakfast Club.
Let me on a North American lens. Can I say it like that?
Yeah, so targeting that aspect of Black culture, absolutely. They're huge.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So she had an incident where she had like the kids call it a crash out moment. And it didn't look too good for anybody putting money into her, or even the powers that be who hired her.
Right.
For her to kind of expose a few people and how the production, behind what people don't see, how it's run and how she felt. And she never really talked to her other coworkers and stuff about it.
Yeah.
Or specific manager people. It didn't look too good on a professional level, on an employee level. So then I'm asking, would you hire Jess Hilarious after all of that?
For me, yes.
Okay. Tell me
and
why.
The reason why is it's pretty much on brand is why she got hired for in the first place. This is just with the mess. People who are coming to The Breakfast Club because of her are known to expect that type of behavior. It's not like they're coming to see her in like a suit or something in standard. No, they're coming for the mess. So she's really speaking to her core audience. And if I'm somebody who's trying to tap into that, guess what? It's a bonus. They said, "Oh, just crashed out" is probably going further than just coming back in and just playing her regular role as a co-host.
Now, the Breakfast Club itself, the platform has been there years, many, many years and stuff, in like a decade plus before Jess Hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I want to say you might have a certain type of audience, might have like a brand appeal and stuff on why they like the Breakfast Club.
Right.
And that element of stuff would be brand new to them and stuff like that. So
Yes.
now you have Jess's core, like you're talking about, right? And then you have the other side of stuff like, she came here. I didn't want this. I came here for professionalism, or I came for light humor and the facts and stuff like that. I didn't come here for this because you guys kind of just put the therapy aspect out there so much when your staff or your cast member, your co-host isn't doing anything that a therapist would recommend.
Right.
Right? So that's what I would look at. I wouldn't hire her after this.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I would say no, just because the mess isn't on brand with what I do. So, I mean, that's the first part. But I think also on a bigger level is like we're living in a world of algorithms.
Yes.
And because we live in a world of algorithms, everything that we see is things that we like. So we don't even know how to disagree with people anymore.
Mhm.
And so now, because we don't know how to disagree, we think every disagreement has to be in public.
Right.
Every disagreement has to be loud. We don't even know how to like just pull somebody aside and be like, "Yo, brethren, like what's," you know what I mean? Like without putting all of our business on blast. And I think putting the business on blast is extremely unprofessional and not something that I want to personally be around.
Fair. I dig it. All right, man. So what you been up to? Let's get to let them know, let the people know.
Me, I mean, I just came back from bringing a group of people from Toronto to Africa. So we were gone for 18 days, and that was truly blessed. That's the big thing that I've been up to, and then now working on my When Sisters Speak show, and then just keeping it moving, just staying on the ground, writing, performing, creating opportunities for people.
When was your first time going to Africa? For like, I want to say this experience that you kind of cultivated.
Yeah.
Because I want to say going to like, just to see Ghana or somewhere like that for the first time to a whole nother continent might be one thing. But then this whole experience with your incorporating everything, did you do that in one shot, or was this multiple trips before you
no, I did it in one shot. So I did a performance, and I met the consul general for South Africa.
Okay.
And she loved my performance, and she came up to me afterwards and was like, "Have you ever been to South Africa?" I'm like, "Nah, never been. Don't even know what I'd be doing there, how I'd get there, whatever." She's like, "I'm going to connect you with someone." So she connected me with her friends who have a travel agency, and we decided to put a trip together. It says, "Come to South Africa with Dwayne Morgan." And we just put it out online, and 16 people showed up. And 2013 we went, and we did that. And then
2013 was the first one.
Yeah, 2013 was the first one, and
Nice.
then it was a long silence, and then they hit me up again, and we did another one in 2023.
Oh, okay.
And then and then we just came back from the third one. So I mean, after the one in 2023, I made the commitment to myself that I really want to bring more people to have this experience of Africa, and the experiences we just had on this one kind of reaffirm that. So I think, if I live long enough, my goal is to have 200 people say, "Dwayne got me to Africa."
That's
Nice.
dope.
Nice.
Yeah, I dig that. Yeah, because I look at it where, like when we were talking earlier, like before with the cameras and stuff, was about like cost wise, right? Like to, let's say, an average person that lives in the GTA and stuff like that, like how would they go about even trying to get started with this?
I mean, the first thing is like once I announce whatever the trip is, it's really just doing the deposit. It's just to be like, okay, I'm serious about doing this, because the deposit is the hardest part because it means like, okay, I'm committing
Committed.
Right.
to
Yeah.
something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the team that I work with, the travel agency that I work with, is really dope in putting together like personalized payment plans where you're just, making a payment like once every other month or something like that. So you're just
Yeah.
kind of chipping away at it over like the span of a year or a year plus. And I think that makes it way easier than just thinking of like, oh, I got to come up with $7,000 one time
One
kind of thing,
shot.
right? Which is, most people just don't have it like that. You know what I mean? Like I can't just come up with $7,000 like right now to be going on a trip. But when you
Right.
can spread that 7,000 over, 12, 14 months, it makes it way easier for people to be able to afford to do a
Do
trip
it.
like this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also off here when we were talking, what really stuck out to me is that it's already a planned experience, right? So it's like,
With itinerary.
yeah. So
That makes a difference.
it does it makes a big difference, right? Because I think without that structure, you might be ending up spending more than you have to, right? So if you know that 7,000 is gonna cover my hotels, my meals, my excursions, those are the things that you're really spending the most money on when you do a trip. So to have that already planned out and realize once you get on the plane, there's no worry about anything else. I think that's really dope.
Yeah, and we try to make it as easy for people as possible. We try to make it, as fun because not everybody is going to be into the same stuff, but there's
Right.
always going to be, no matter who you are, there's going to be some stuff that's there. Some people are into the nature more. Some people are into the animals. Some people want the history. So we try to make sure that there's a balance of all of those things so that you get a well-rounded look at wherever it is that we're at.
Got it.
On this past trip and stuff now, because you just came back,
Mhm.
what was give me the worst part of it and then tell me the best part of it. So what was the worst part of the trip?
The worst part would have to be, I would say, in Namibia. And it's a very interesting thing because I didn't know too much about Namibia before getting there.
Okay.
But it's still very German. So, Germany had
Okay.
colonized them, and all the street names are in German, and Germans own all the shops and all the
Whoa.
everything. It's like,
Right.
it was like, whoa, I didn't even expect to see this.
In Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we went to where the majority of the Black people live, and it was like, man, it's like poverty, like just as far as you could see, just like shanty towns and whatever.
Damn.
And it's like, so, and there was just one street that separated these two experiences.
Wow.
So it's like you look on this to the left and you're like, oh, these nice buildings and everything is lit up and whatever.
Yeah.
And then you look to the right and it's like just dust and cardboard and people and
Yeesh.
crammed together and
Yeah,
stuff. And I'm like,
yeah.
wow, man, this is crazy. So I mean, there's so many political things happening in Africa right now, but I think addressing some of those disparities is something that kind of needs to happen, but it takes certain kind of leadership to make that happen. And I think the best thing would be one of the last nights we found went to like this jazz club, and the band got everybody up and dancing and just having a good time, and then the manager was like, oh, I want to show you guys something afterwards, and he had there's this telephone booth that people will like go in and take pictures
photos
for
in,
Instagram
yeah.
or whatever,
yeah.
right? But it's like if you know the code, there's a back door to the telephone booth, and it opens into another space.
Oh, like a speakeasy.
It was a speakeasy.
Okay.
So it opens into a speakeasy, but first, before you actually get into the speakeasy, there's a middle room, and in that room, you have to give up your cell phone. Like you're not allowed to bring your phone
Right.
into the speakeasy because they don't want no evidence, they don't want no
Yeah.
pictures, no video. So we all had to give up our phones, and then he pushes another door, and then we just open up into this spot, and you're like, yo, this is crazy. Like it's a spot. Like then he showed us
Wow.
pictures, like Jay-Z was there, Beyonce was there,
Wow.
whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
So who took the photos? They did?
well, they took the photos.
They
I
can take the
mean,
photos.
yeah.
They can take the photos.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Don't incriminate me on TMZ, but I get it.
Yeah, man. So I mean, I think that was one of the best things because you're just there and you're just like, man, we need something like this, and in Toronto with this kind of vibe or whatever. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
It's like, yeah. Then he just brought us to the back back room, and this, the spot had a cigar lounge and all sorts of different things in there. So it was a real dope
But
spot.
I mean, these are the type of experiences that you speak of when people have no idea what's happening in Africa. They just see what's on TV and think that's it, right?
Yeah.
But you truly got to be immersed
Absolutely.
to see. You got to boots on the ground to see what is really happening, what's really going on.
Yeah, I mean, everyone who's come on these trips, they don't return as the same person, because there's
The
so much stuff you
experiences.
have to unlearn, so much things you have to confront about what we have been taught about Africa versus being there and actually seeing things for yourself. And one of the things that I always say to people is that when you go to Africa, if you're paying attention, you'll realize that everybody is there except us.
Woo.
So what is actually happening is that all the people who were stolen from Africa has been sold this idea that where you're from is so backward, so negative, you never want to go there. But the same people telling us that are there, owning land, setting up businesses, extracting resources to send back home. So everybody is there except us. The Germans are there, Chinese are there, the Indians are there, the Europeans are. Everyone is there, and that's why I'm so committed to bringing us back there to actually see what is actually going on.
That's dope. Yeah, when you said it, I was like, that's right. I remember I read an article and stuff one time. This was years ago about I think Chinese restaurants in Kenya. They don't allow black people unless you're affluential or politicians and stuff after 6 p.m. because they don't know if they might be part of Boko Haram or somewhere like that or some kind of faction. So they would kick the black people out. So I'm like, make this article make sense. Chinese people living in Africa and saying no black people can come into the establishment, huh?
But they had a hotel that did something like that in Jamaica within the last few years, where they said no locals are allowed here, and the locals burned it down.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they're like, this ain't happening here. They burnt that right to the ground, and now when they rebuilt it, and it's like, all right, everybody can come.
We were joking.
And the reality is, that's really what it takes, because people think they could just come into a country and be like, we don't want y'all, or the locals here, we don't want y'all. Like who
the hell are you?
Yeah,
you set up shop here.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it really takes people to be like, no, that's not acceptable. We're not doing that.
Easy. Not mad at that. My next thing I wanted to talk to you about was your sister Speak. Now, when I was looking back and stuff, whatever, around the last time when you on your adult show, when does that take place?
So members only, my annual erotica show is usually in May or June.
May and June.
Yeah.
And when does Sister Speak now?
Sister Speak is always in March for Women's Month.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So the show is coming up when?
It's actually going to be on the 29th of March. So just putting the finishing touches on that right now.
Nice. Tickets still available?
Ticketmaster, yeah.
Okay. You heard. Take a woman, take a friend, take a mother. Sisters need to speak up too, man.
Now that you've got these things happening on a set schedule and you're a few years deep in it, is the amount of time planning for the show similar, or have you gotten that down to a science now where you can just plug things in as opposed to figuring out what will work from what won't work?
I mean, it's a mix of both. I mean, I can plug a lot of pieces in, but again, everything's always changing, right? What worked with the algorithm this year doesn't work next year, right?
Right.
Instagram is a big thing this year. TikTok is a big thing next year. It's so you still have to be on the ball, and I think you can't just get lazy and just get comfortable.
Right.
And I mean, I think one of the flip side to that, which is for me more of a sore point, and I think something that we have to have more discussions around, is that in our community, if you were to ask people, name 5 things in our community that has been around for more than 10 years, right? Events and different things, right?
Yeah.
Most people struggle.
Only Caravana so far?
Right? There's Caravana, there's the Harry Jerome Awards, there's different things, right? But it's so there are so few things that have even made it to 10 years in our community that when we see things in our community that are positive, we have a responsibility as community members to be like, I need to support that thing.
Right.
I need
right.
to make sure that thing succeeds because that thing represents me.
Right.
Right. So for me, like, okay, we're like 6 days out from when Sisters Speak. The theater holds 500 people. You asked if there's still tickets. That should have been sold out 2 weeks ago.
Right.
This is 20-something years.
Yeah.
Right? Of
yeah.
doing this
Doing
thing,
same.
of creating an opportunity for Black women to be on stage, to talk about their experiences, blah, blah. And I'm a Black man. Like, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'm creating this space. I should never be sitting with y'all and be like, oh, with 6 days to go, there's still tickets left.
Right.
It's like, as a community, we have to be like, oh,
That shit should have been sold out.
this thing, the minute he announces it, within 2 weeks, it's sold out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because again, when I stop doing it, people are going to be like, oh, I knew he couldn't keep doing it, blah, blah. You know the talks that come after that.
Oh, the
Right?
haters.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like, so I have a responsibility to create this vehicle and this platform for the community, but the
The
community
community has a
also has a
responsibility.
responsibility to make sure that it succeeds.
Yeah.
And we're living in a world now where the artists want more money, flights cost more, hotels cost more, the theater costs more.
Right.
So it's like the ticket price has to keep, moving to balance out all of these kinds of things. And it's like, but as a community, there has to be that level of when we see things in our community, we're like, yo, I have to support that economically so that that thing succeeds. Because
yeah.
there are so few things in our community that we can say, yeah, our community created that. That's our thing.
Yeah.
And I think if we don't have that, then other people just think that we don't contribute anything, we don't do anything or whatever. And I think that's really a bigger conversation that we have to start having a bit more.
So let me ask you guys this. At what age in your life or what time in your life did you find the need to, like, let's say, support your community? Because I want to say, let's say, for example, and stuff, as a young North American child and stuff, whatever you look at and stuff, is like, yo, let's say I was born in the 80s, right?
Right.
Growing up in the 90s and stuff, we had Tommy, Polo, Hilfiger, all that type of stuff before we start looking at brands like FUBU to say we're going to put money in and stuff, whatever, right? What age for you was it that you start thinking of community more than self?
I think for me, I came up in community. So, I mean, I was introduced to community around.
So you already...
Yeah, around
What kind of-
17, 18.
Okay.
I started, volunteering with community organizations. I started being, a youth leadership counselor and stuff like that. So I was
Nice.
I
So-
was in community from very young.
Right.
So
Right.
I always had that mindset of, cooperative economics, supporting, if I see somebody who looks like me doing something, how can I support? Like that's always been part of my wiring since very young.
So if you see somebody and stuff, let's say at your current age and stuff now that doesn't think of community or think like that when considered fact, like some 17, 18, you've kind of been in this world. Like, what do you think, what could you say to convince a person like that to finally get on? Because like, I want to say a lot of people still don't think community, right?
Yeah.
You know what? I guess one of the beauties of where I'm at in life is I'm not trying to convince anybody anything. You know what I mean? It's like I can't judge another man's journey, right?
Right.
I just know what my journey has been, and I know the value that community has given to me. That other man might have value that's derived from other places that is comparable to the value I've gotten from community. So I can't even
Nice.
judge that,
Well
right?
Right. Right.
And make it seem like, oh, this what I'm doing is the way. Like we're all so different. There's so many different ways, right?
Right.
But what I might want to do is say, hey, come out and check out this thing that I'm doing. You know what I mean? And he might come out and be like, I ain't never been to nothing like this before. I enjoyed this. You know what? Next
Right.
time I'm going to bring one or two other people who might not know about that. So I think for me, it's
Same.
not about, the judgment kind of thing or whatever. It's about,
No,
all right,
it's just trying to bridge the gap because I look at it stuff as where, like, even let's say this. I've been to other small, low-key kind of little poetry things and stuff within the city of Toronto since I came here. It's like since like after 03. And then I look at it stuff as where then now meeting you like years ago and stuff like that, realize, oh shit, there's a bigger platform and stuff and a bigger stage that this thing can go past now, whatever, right? Now, and then when you're offering to say, like, come to the Adults Only show or come to the Brothers Speak. And when I went to the Brothers Speak, I was like, yo, this is an experience.
Yeah.
I was looking like, and when I'm telling people about it, they're like, yeah? They're like, so all the poets was black? I'm like, all the
All
poets
poets
was
were
black.
black. Yeah, yeah,
And they're
yeah.
like, yeah, I'm like, there's dude from Oakland at the time, the tall dude, he was there and everything. And then they're like, oh shit. Since when? I'm like, man, this man been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
So I'm looking like, again, they don't really know,
Mm.
but then again, like even just an experience like a reach one, teach one,
Yeah.
I feel like it still can happen. It's just that it
Oh,
helps
absolutely.
bring in like a sense of community because I
Right.
look at it stuff like when you're saying like, yo, you ain't gotta, you've done it.
Mm.
You've done it. But I just feel like a lot of people will stop looking at it like, well, how would I know if I never know?
Yeah. And that's for me. Like when I meet people, I just try to extend an invitation. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, come experience my world. And I love when they invite me into their world because there's other things that are happening that I know nothing about.
Nothing
right?
about right. Yeah.
I know my little world.
Yeah.
And I try to bring people into my little world, but there's all sorts of other worlds that are out there. So when somebody's
But
just
welcome
like,
to our world.
well, thank you so much. So when somebody's like, yo, come check this thing. And I'm like, never heard of this before, but you know what? Let me just go check it. You'll be amazed that you find things that you like. You find some interesting people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's really just being open, right? So I think when I meet somebody who, you know, might not be community minded, I try to invite them into the community.
So I think the problem might be just the open-mindedness.
Mhm.
Like I feel like, mine is like a parachute, works better when it's open,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
I think a lot of people, we live in our own closed off worlds and our own closed off minds and stuff that we don't give ourselves chances to explore something new. Like one of my favorite things and stuff is like when I heard somebody say, when was the last time you did something for the first time? Right? And I always looked at that anytime it becomes like a new experience and stuff like that now, because I look at it stuff as where I have a thing for like a type of concert I want to go see and stuff like that. And I looked at it stuff as like, I've never experienced something where like candles are just fully into a room playing music and symphony style, whatever, right?
Right.
But I'm like, give it a shot.
Yeah. I mean, I used to have a thing where it was like every month I had to do something new that I'd never done before.
No way.
Like, and I did that for a few years where it's just like, all right, every month, what is something I've never done before?
Okay.
And I got to do that this month. And it was crazy. You just search online and you look for like some different weird things to go out there and
That's
do
dope. I never thought of it
I
like
never
that.
thought of
But
it
like that.
I'm entering 40 now, so I'm into some shit now.
But it was it was a goal that I had that, every month you got to find something you've never done and just go out there and just do it.
Like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Let sisters speak. Be one of them. It's for the community. Damn it. Yeah, man. I wanted to ask you, like, when's the last time you were celebrated? Did the people on this trip? I know they probably celebrated the hell out of you, but I want to say like before you went on this trip because you've been constantly throughout the courses of years within the GTA have been kind of just changing opening people's minds and, showing them a different kind of world.
Again, creating community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when was the last time you were celebrated before this trip?
I mean, I think there was a number of things during, in February because,
Your birthday?
Birthday was in October. So we, lots of celebrations for that. But I think, throughout like just Black History Month and stuff, I met so many people, was in so many different environments, doing different things.
Right.
And just, listening to how people spoke about me. It's the conversations I had with people. People were just like, I'm talking to adults and they're like, yo, when I was in elementary school, you came to my school. And it's like, how do you even remember that?
Yeah.
And, but it's like, yo, like somebody told me that and they're like, yo, I never got to thank you. I never seen you again since then. I just wanted to thank you for what you said because what you said did this and that or whatever. And I'm like, yo, there's no amount of money that somebody can give me that replaces like those kinds of things, knowing that you like impacted somebody's life in some kind of positive way. And a lot of times, I'm there and I'm just like, man, I got to go do this again and say the same speech over and over again, and you got to find the energy to do it. But it's a reminder that you just never know who you might touch in that space, right? So you got to just, suck it up and find the energy, just kind of do what you've been called upon to do because there's always somebody watching. There's always somebody that you can touch, you can inspire. So definitely, I think there were a lot of moments, in February through all of the events that I was doing where I felt celebrated.
I look at it stuff like, so my thing, where I've been, I guess, kind of struggling or learning in my own personal world, I have a problem with celebrating myself, right? And I look at it as stuff is now when it comes to birthdays, there's something about it that kind of rubs me the wrong way about this is the time you choose to celebrate me when I don't want to toot my own horn, but I be doing great shit
Right.
like along the way, right?
Right.
So I'm looking at stuff as like, why now? When I'm looking like, let's just celebrate the person when they can, because like again, you were saying February, you just had different type of things and stuff, and you're just there for probably an event and you're playing your part, whatever. Like, all right, I got to do this shit again tomorrow, and then somebody's like, you came to my high school, you put this ingenious thought in my mind and stuff, whatever. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Compared to like how many people might have told you happy birthday, and you'd be like, I don't know you. So that's how I look at stuff as like the celebrating. I like my thing and stuff is that when like, you know, that's why I like to ask certain people and stuff who are quite established. Like when the last time they were celebrated, because I look at it stuff as where we need to celebrate our, I want to say like our heroes of the GTA and everything like that. We need to put you guys on like a little upper platform and stuff, because there's a lot of people under you that's just hoping for opportunity to be you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because, you know, I also like struggle with celebrating myself. I struggle with being celebrated by others because it's just like, you know, I don't really put a whole lot of weight in like what I do and be like, oh my gosh, I'm Dwayne Morgan. It's like, yo, I'm just
You're just you. You're being you.
I'm a dude, right?
Yeah.
I have a gift to like write poems and tell stories, and it's allowed me to do a bunch of different things, but I don't sit and think of myself as being, you know, bigger or better than other people, right? So it's like, even when people are celebrating me, sometimes it just feels weird because I'm just like,
no, but you could do it too.
Yeah, you know, it's like, I've done all these things or whatever, but you know, I don't even see myself in that kind of lens.
Yeah.
So it always just gives this weird feeling, and it's even more weird if it's me trying to celebrate myself.
Yeah, and I think like just like you're saying, because it's like it's naturally within you. It's hard to think of it as anything worth celebrating, because like even when my wife like will come to me and like I'll make a piece of music and stuff like that, and she'll be like, she goes like, how do you do that? And like I honestly don't know how to answer her because it's something that it's just within me.
Yeah.
And then when it comes out, it just comes out. I'm not feeling like I'm doing anything special to make it come out. It just comes out. But for the person who can't do what I'm doing, it's something that, no.
It's inspiring.
Yeah, you know, there's greatness in you. Like, I'm still trying to figure out what the greatness is.
Yeah, I get it.
What would you look at it something as where, let's say, out of like, let's say 100, how many could do what you do?
But and I think that's how I should look at it. But I'm never looking at it in that way. I just know that I can do it.
It's perspective, though, right? Life is perspective.
Yeah. I just know I can do it, and I assume that I'm not the only person who can do it. But again, it's just you're so right. It's like when you put things in perspective, it's like, okay, no, I'm good at it because I've been blessed with a certain time. Like when I look at Dwayne, I'm like, yo, when he's on stage performing on the pieces he puts out, I'm like, God damn, I wish I could flip words like that. You know what I mean? It's like,
man.
But you know what I mean? It was like, but to you, it's like, this is something that you do, and you probably don't even give it a second thought after a while.
Yeah. That's true.
Let me ask you, does it take skill or luck to kind of be successful?
I'm gonna go with skill.
Talk about it.
I think, you know, you have to be prepared for when luck happens. You can have all the luck in the world, but if you don't have skill, then what are you going to do with the luck? Right? But if you have skill, you're prepared for when luck happens. And, you know, people say, well, you know, opportunity is just the skill needing the luck, right? And it's just like, okay, bam, there's the synergy. Now things start to move and start to happen, right?
Right.
If you're just lucky and you have no skills, all right, that's great.
I feel like it would fizzle faster.
Yeah.
It would fizzle faster and stuff if you just use the luck and everything like that. Like, okay, you've been blessed with this opportunity, and let's say even if it's a song, it might be just kind of like a one-hit wonder, and then that's where else everything else just kind of fall off. Now, if the skill was there, like, I mean, bodies of work will kind of just be the test of time and the show improve.
Yeah.
Like, with people, what I've noticed and stuff, with a lot of people, like when we're looking at, let's say, kind of like established people such as yourself and people who've kind of done it, we're looking down and stuff. I'm looking up to say like, yeah, you can do it too, like what you were saying earlier and stuff there. But I'm like, was it more of the skill that you were able to do it? Because I look at it stuff as you've been doing it for decades.
Right.
So your skill game, what is it, over 10,000 hours? We're not even questioning your skill level at that time and stuff for them, right? But some people and stuff, they look at it stuff as where like the 10,000 hours might not be it. And, you know, some people without the 10,000 hours have kind of gotten through of like, you know, gone through and stuff, whatever. So I look at it stuff as where the skill aspect is highly recommended, but like the luck aspect and stuff, whatever, isn't that still part of the skill you're saying?
Well, I mean, I think it comes down to a bit of semantics in a sense, right? Because when you say that somebody just, you know, goes through, just being able to go through is also a skill. Being delusional is a skill. I saw a video.
Being delusional is a skill.
Yeah.
You're going to have to break that down.
Yeah, because I saw this video on...
Because there's some people in Camp H. I mean...
Well, I mean, that's mental health and delusion, but here's what I mean. I saw this video on TikTok, and this woman was talking about how everybody, like, is on Jennifer Lopez because she can't sing and she has no talent. And the woman in the video was like, all of us should want to be as delusional as Jennifer Lopez. Because when you believe that you can do something,
right,
it generates its own luck.
Yeah.
It generates its own ecosystem for you.
You're right.
That level of delusion where everyone is like, she can't sing. How is she doing it? But she believes
all I've
she
heard is
can.
J-Lo can't do shit.
Right? But the fact that she believes she can with 100% conviction opens up doors, creates opportunities, generates its own form of luck. So that level of delusion is a skill.
I get it. I get it now. Okay. So let's say to the entrepreneurs and stuff out there hearing this right now, right? You're basically, I'm not putting words in your mouth and stuff, whatever, but if, let's say, your business or your goal or whatever you're going for is not hitting the mark, you need to be more delusional to kind of make sure and see that for it to go through? Is that what you're saying?
It's hard for rational people to succeed because we get so caught up in our minds and what's possible and what's this person going to say, that person going to say. When you learn the history of the Wright brothers who invented the airplane, how many times did they fail? How many times did people laugh at them and tell them that flying is impossible, give up? But the delusion that this is possible kept them going. Right. Because the reality is the human brain is not capable of imagining something that is not possible. How would it even know to imagine it?
Yeah.
So anything that your brain imagines is possible. Our work is to figure out how do I make it real?
Right.
So people laughed at this man who said, I'm going to sell books on the internet. And people are like, there's a bookstore. Why would anyone buy books off the internet?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm going to sell books. Now, Amazon is one of the richest companies in the world.
Right.
Why? Because someone was delusional enough to say, yeah, there's bookstores out there, but I'm going to sell books on the internet.
Yeah.
And everyone who could not see the vision because they were too rational, all right, well, now they're making him money because they're buying all their stuff on Amazon.
I was about to say, now they buying their dog treats.
Right? So again, we can't be too rational. Like when we talk about like entrepreneurs and people who want to go out there and change the world,
right?
You can't be too rational. Like when I work with kids, I tell them you have to be willing to be ridiculous. Like think some of the most ridiculous thoughts. Go out there, do things that people will laugh at and be like, that can't work, whatever.
Yeah.
And then go and prove them that it's possible because your brain can't imagine things that aren't possible. So that's just, the physics and the science of how it all works.
That's beautiful.
I always say, dream the impossible dream and wake up to a new reality.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful. We need like a shrine for you, man. Like, where would you want to put your show? Like they said, we want to make a Dwayne Morgan statue. Where would you want it to be? You know, birds might shit on it though.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
It's luck.
Yeah, it's supposed to be good luck. It's supposed to be good luck. Definitely, it's got to be in Scarborough.
Anywhere particular?
I think I already have a star in the Scarborough Town Center.
I was gonna say,
I think somewhere around there, so that if people are coming to pay respects, they just hit two birds with one stone kind of thing, right? So
Okay.
around the
Yeah.
Scarborough
Yeah.
Town Center.
Do you feel like, let's say, the Harold Jerome Awards and let's say the Scarborough Walk of, like the Walk of Fame,
Mm.
do you feel like those things are synonymous, or you feel like they're two different worlds? How do you feel? Because
I mean,
you did both.
Yeah, they're definitely two different worlds. I think the Harry Jerome Awards is from the community. The Scarborough Walk of Fame is from the whole region of Scarborough, kind of thing, right? So
Right.
they're very different in that respect.
Mhm.
One, the Harry Jerome kind of looks at what I've achieved as an artist. The Scarborough Walk of Fame is like what I've given to the culture of Scarborough, how I've put on other people and different things. So I mean,
Okay.
they're both very, very different, but still connected.
Okay. No, because I always looked at it stuff as where with the Scarborough Walk of Fame, I always looked at it as where we don't have anything like that too much in the West. But somebody was telling me that they do.
There's a Brampton
There's a-
one.
I was about
They
to say
started
there's
a
a
Brampton
Brampton
one,
one.
yeah.
Right. So when I was hearing about the Brampton one and stuff and everything, I'm like, so the west end of like Etobicoke and the Mississauga people,
Everything in between.
they just got they just said screw it. But like, I mean, would you take if they offered you something and stuff, would you be happy just to accept and receive, even though you're not a Brampton type of person?
I mean, I'm not
Because
gonna
you're GTA all over, right? Because I look at it stuff, you probably done shows from here, there, to and fro across the country.
Well, it's interesting. I got an award in Buffalo.
Really?
For my contribution to the poetry scene in Buffalo.
Oh,
And I'm like, I didn't see this one coming. You know what I mean? But it's like
Brampton's next.
I used to go to to Buffalo and do shows there. I used to bring poets to Buffalo.
right.
I would give poets in Buffalo the opportunity to come and perform in Toronto, and I didn't know at the time that I was really helping to build their scene, because their scene was even younger than the Toronto scene. So, and I was showing them an example of you could live off of this, and here's some things you could do,
Right.
and these were things that they weren't even thinking. So
of.
they
Right,
had an
right.
event. And they invited me to come down, and they presented me with this award for my contribution to the poetry scene in Buffalo. So I was just like,
Oh, that's dope.
all right, okay.
You went there for food.
Yeah, I was there to support.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know this thing was happening. So
That's dope. I feel like we need to put more respect on our Black and Canadian Black representatives for our communities to kind of help just show lights and everything. And even the ones that have been doing it for the test of time, like showing it for the skill work and stuff. Because even like the other day, I think Cardinal, he did something and stuff. He's doing now more skit type music. And
Right.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Right? I look at it stuff as like, these people have been around for decades. And then I feel like we don't lift them that much, right? Like even in the past recent year with with Drake and his little beef and everything, I'm like, we still gotta look at it stuff. This person is still from here, kind of putting on for the city and stuff like. But even if they're not on to that type of, let's say, grandiose type of level,
Right.
we still have other ones and stuff, whatever, that still kind of made it welcoming for everybody else to emulate and try to do the same thing as them.
well, I think what you're bringing up, I think, is a bigger issue again in the Black community. If we look at hip hop as an example, right? And the narrative is that hip hop is young people's music.
Right.
Right. And once you get to a certain age, it's like, people don't want to hear from you
I got
anymore.
a contemporary hip hop playlist,
Right. But the thing is like, you can still go and hear the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can still go and see Aerosmith.
Yeah.
You should still, Jay-Z should have no problem selling out any tour anywhere, because you're looking at the whole catalog of work.
Right.
But it's like, once you reach a certain age, okay, you're not here anymore.
Yeah.
So then what happens? Like, how do we celebrate longevity? How do we celebrate like these things when we just have such a disposable culture? Like, okay, you've aged out now, so
Yeah.
you're no longer relevant, and now only these young kids who are talking all sorts of wildness and don't have anybody older to bring them on tour to be like, no, here's the way. How does it work?
Right.
And I think this is part of it's partly done deliberately, so that we're not
Working together.
passing certain things on, so that our stuff is always disposable, so that we can't actually create generational
wealth.
community wealth.
Oh.
It's me just making money for me right now,
Yeah.
as opposed to this whole network of
Right.
of things,
Yeah.
right? So I think, when you speak about, oh, you've been doing it from time, yeah, it's like, oh, oh, Dwayne Morgan's been doing it for whatever, who cares? Like, you know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, not, oh, he's still here doing it. It's like, man, yeah, that was like 20 years ago. And it's like, so, but that's an internal problem.
No,
That's something we have to address as a community.
yeah,
Okay,
because like
yeah.
I was talking to someone, like I think I went somewhere at Thanksgiving, right? Canadian Thanksgiving and stuff, and like they were talking about like top like MCs and stuff, whatever, like women wise, right? And I mentioned Nicki Minaj, right? And then a younger person and stuff looked at me like, yeah, Nicki's all like French fan Nicki. I was like, well, she's still here. Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
like she's still making music though,
Mm.
right? I was like, are we always just constantly looking for the newest thing?
Mm.
I'm like, when do we appreciate like the longevity, the fact that like, yo, things have been here that long, the test of time. Like I look at it stuff is where my auntie always has this expression. She's like, old time religion can't done,
Mm.
Right.
right? So like if it's good, if it's there, it's always gonna be there.
Mm.
But I think they just look at it and stuff as like dispose.
Yeah, I mean, Elton John is still out there at however old he is, you know what I mean? Still doing things. But, you know, in other genres and in other cultures, it's allowed. In
Yeah.
our culture,
Yeah.
it's not allowed, right? And we have to think about, well, who set that up? How does that all work?
Mhm.
What do we lose from not being able to see Jay-Z and Nas going on tour and all these kinds of things, right? Like, I don't know. People, we discuss it.
Now that we brought it to the forefront of the mind, we'll sit down and have a round table discussion. No, but Marv is right. Marv is always talking about there should be a contemporary rap category. And like, I agree with him 100%. I should be able to find a station where I tune in and I'm not only hearing the artists in their prime, in the golden age, but I'm hearing them still create new music to this day. It may be that same style, that contemporary style that I'm used to,
Mhm.
and they may be talking. And another thing that we discuss is that some of these old rappers need to grow up though.
Mm.
They can't be talking the same shit that they were
No,
talking about in
absolutely.
the
Yeah,
90s
absolutely.
because their fans have grown up.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? We're fathers, we're husbands, we're wives. You know what I mean? We're taxpayers. There's a whole different bracket that we're now in. We don't want to hear about you still chipping rocks on the corner. We weren't doing that then. We were excited, but we're not doing it now.
Right.
And we're past that excitement.
Mm.
So again, I think that also has to change. That has to elevate a bit to bring us along with it in the journey.
But I think that it goes hand in hand, right? Because if you are in a culture that says by 35,
You're old.
it's done for,
Right.
then when you go to make music, you're like, oh, okay, that means I have to make music for the 20-year-olds,
Got it.
right?
Right.
But if it's like, oh no, you can just keep making music until you don't want to anymore,
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, so now I can start making raps about arthritis and I can and different
the
things that I'm
bars,
experiencing
the creams.
because the reality is these are things we're going through.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
At our age, but who's speaking about, you know, these kinds of things? Who's speaking about what it's like getting older? Who's speaking about, oh, you know what? I'm 50 and my dick doesn't work the way it used to. I want to hear that song.
Right, right.
Because it's
I
like,
want to hear it now too.
you know, because
Yeah.
it's like, yo, these are things that are happening, right?
Right.
Let the young people cater to the young people, and then, you know, the older artists still get a chance to be artists, because the artist in you never dies,
Yes.
Yes.
right? But when you're black, you're kind of suppressed and be like, well, now, what am I going to do now?
Right.
Right? Like,
Right.
yeah, like I can't compete with these young guys. I go on a track with them, they're gonna be like, who's this old guy?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's like, but there has to be a lane where you can just still be putting out stuff like what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
Still be putting out stuff that's relatable to the audience that grew up with you in the first place.
Like,
Right.
like
Right?
I look at it stuff as like I'm a Jay-Z fan and stuff, but let me look at somebody like Jadakiss, right? When Jadakiss came in my world and stuff, I want to say middle school, and like Money, Power, Respect and all that type of stuff, and it was street stuff,
Mm.
right? And then to hear Jadakiss make an album like Ignatius singing a track about like I Need Your Best. He's singing, he's rapping to his woman and stuff, like, you know, and like, you know, the good life and things are now changing, like taking places only you can Google and everything. I'm like, this is not the same. I'll gun butt you in the alleyway, kind of
Right.
move some keys and cope. I'm like, this is elevated. This is grown. I've grown up. This music has to grow up and stuff with me. If not, I'm leaving the genre.
Right. Right.
Right? Because I look at it stuff as, I remember I heard J. Cole has a song called 1985, and he had a line. He's like, yeah, because if you don't grow up, your money's gonna start to slow up because other people won't start to show up, right? And then eventually you're gonna be, his skills is gonna be forever on TikTok, and you might be stuck on loving hip hop. And they have the retiree kind of rappers and stuff, whatever there, right?
Right.
So I look at it stuff as like, yeah, we do constantly do pace age and stuff on it, whatever. But I look at it stuff as where if it is dedicated towards you, fuck. Any song I hear right now to say something about arthritis, the way how my finger been fucking with I'm for it. It might even be on repeat. So I'm just looking at stuff as like we are growing and we're maturing and we're coming along in time and stuff whatever. And some of that, and even as men, some of that young boy shit is behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't relate to a lot of it. So it's like, what am I doing here?
Let me ask you, when did you get dick discipline? Because a young boy's thing and stuff is like, especially in the black community, a black culture, it's kind of like monogamy wasn't really a thing. You got to have a lot of women, you got to experience a lot of women and everything and stuff like that. And you being a goat you are, I feel like you had a share. When did you come to say to yourself, like, you know what? It's not, did you say worth the squeeze?
You know what? Ironically, it was very early. Early 20s and early out in my career, because I understood that what I wanted to do couldn't be done if, like, so many women come out to poetry shows.
Correct.
Right? If there's 10 women to every man, and 10 women in the room are like, I'm sleeping with him, my whole business is flopped.
Right.
You don't have no time.
Yeah. So I knew very early that, once I started to realize that I was becoming like known, or, what they would say now, a brand or whatever, it's like, that can't be part of the brand. That everybody has access to you, that, you're in a room and 6 women are like, oh, I've been with him or whatever. I'm like, that's not the look.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So from very early, I was just like, no, I gotta be, I can't, opportunities were there, of course, but it's like being able to turn down opportunities. So, I mean, from early 20s, I was like, I'm good.
What would you recommend to a young boy who's trying to coming into himself, where I'm going to say where his world's kind of changing with I consider what young kids call motion, like you're a man of motion, and a young, let's say a young 20-something-year-old and stuff that you see under your wing, not even under your wing, but you see that has a little motion, what would you advise him to kind of get disciplined with, especially with below the belt?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really a matter of looking at the bigger picture. And I think, in the moment, sometimes it's hard to think about that,
Facts.
right? Because there's so many different things that are happening or whatever. But I'm like, if this woman, you couldn't see her raising your child, bro, stay away. That's the first one, because it's like, I know way too many men who are tied to women because of 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like your whole life now is tied to this person because you just didn't have that discipline. Right. So I think that's the first part. And also understanding, which takes a bit more time and maturity, is that the number of women that you've been with will never actually tell you anything about yourself that's positive, right? It's like we've
break that down for me. I'm not gonna act like
we've sold this narrative that, oh, to be a man, especially when you're black, is to be able to say, I've had all of these women,
right?
And at the end of the day, right, you get to be our age or whatever, and it's like, how many of those women matter? How many of those women do you even remember their names?
I wish I could unfuck a lot of women too.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, then you think about, why did I even do that? Yeah. I didn't even want to do that. I didn't even care. Then you think about the karma that you placed, on that person's life, brought into your own life. And it's like, none of that shit was worth it.
Right.
And it's like, so,
we had a discussion one time and stuff, whatever. It's about like the super date. Like he was like, I had like an opportunity to do something for like one woman. And for, let's say, the original woman that was for and everything, it was already kind of set up. But the asshole that I was like, I'll still do it anyway. I just kind of replaced it with another woman. And I did it. And I look at it stuff that the previous woman before had like a little bit longer time with me. And the other woman and stuff was just like a brand new thing. And he's like, you set a bar in this woman's world now for like world's expectations and things, because look how you came in from the start.
Mm.
And I was like, he's like, do you plan to like, marry her and keep her? I'm like, no. and I was like, damn, I fucked her up, huh? He's like, yeah, you fucked her up. Whatever, right? And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I can't keep doing that to people's like daughters out here, right? So I looked at some things and I was like, yeah, not every juice is really worth the squeeze.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well said, man.
Well said.
Before we get to the question, I want to ask you: Do you think women still believe in men in today's climate?
I mean,
what you probably done heard, you probably done seen so far.
I think a lot of women believe in the potential of men.
Okay.
I think a lot of men have to live up to the potential, which kind of ties into what we were speaking about just before. I think, even going back to the conversation we were having before we started recording about the trips to Africa, and it's like, yeah, there's 10 women for every man that goes on the trip. Like, women are investing in themselves spiritually, through knowledge, through culture, in a way that a lot of men are not. Right? And then at the end of the day, it goes back to the conversation about my daughter. So then these women who are enriching themselves, what are they going to do? Like, look down for a man? That they're going to be like, no, we're trying to look at a man who's trying to do that work, within himself, so that we can do these things together.
Well, it's funny when you mentioned it, and you were saying you need more men to come out, and you were telling me about the dynamic of how many women are there versus men, and I'm saying to myself, wow, I could just imagine the women saying to themselves, well, where's the man? Yeah. Like, I'm on this journey. I need a king. This is what I'm looking for. I need a king. Why is there nobody here trying to become a king? Yeah,
it's crazy. And again, even like with my events, you go to the poetry event or whatever, it's very intellectual. 10, 12, 15 women for every man who's there. You look around and it's just a sea of women. So I think, women probably believe in the potential of men more than they believe in actual men at this moment. Because I don't even know what's happening with men. I don't know where men are at. I don't know what men are doing. I'm like, it's so hard to find the men. I'm like, what is happening? Like, where are they?
Yeah.
To be honest and stuff, I can't speak for all men, but I feel like a good portion of them, like I said, they feel like they've been kind of silenced and kind of pushed into like a corner where their voices are not being heard. Even some men and stuff in their own households, like I want to say they will probably be top contributors and stuff in the household, but their voices might not be heard because it's kind of like the terminology like mansplaining is there, right? Compared to like I never heard like womansplaining and stuff, whatever. So I'm like, so is it bad if a man speaks? And then some men and stuff, they kind of got to a notion where like, let's say the quality of men, they're not built the same. I was growing up in a time and stuff like you'll talk to a woman, two things she can say, yes or no, right? I got a ton of no's. I've got some yeses and stuff, right? But then there's some people and stuff, 2 no's would discourage them from talking to women and stuff and set them back some time, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I look at it stuff like the quality of men, like they don't feel like some voices and some things and stuff that they said need to be heard, and they just kind of just go off in their corner. I heard an OG tell me this one day at work. Men don't complain, we have whiskey. So that means he ain't saying shit. He just getting drunk in the corner and he gonna be all right.
Well, I mean, even to go with that, there's a whole idea of like, nobody really cares when men complain. Like it's there. We don't live in a world that is compassionate towards the feelings of men.
Right.
So a man who's complaining is going to be called weak. He's going to be called like all these different things.
Yeah.
And it's like it's better to just deal with the whiskey than to open up or be vulnerable. Or what happens is you can be vulnerable to a woman, and the minute you get into an argument, she remembers you were vulnerable and throws out you bitch ass, whatever the thing is. Like, and I will, any man that happens to will never open up for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
The rest of his life,
He should.
never.
Yeah.
Right? And because when you open up and you are that vulnerable, like there's an unwritten rule of sacredness in that moment, whether it's she's being vulnerable or you're being vulnerable. It's like whatever is said in this moment is sacred. This can't come up in no kind of fight, no kind of disagreement. If we break up, you can't be posting about this. It's like, to me, that's just an unwritten rule of how you act when people are being vulnerable.
Like that. Well said.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to the question of the week, man.
Right.
Question of the week. What's your favorite toxic compliment you've received? Like you said, you've been a man in this space and stuff like that, whatever. You probably had a few panties thrown in your direction and all that type of stuff. You know, you probably had one of those, I'll drink your sweat with a straw. What's the most toxic compliment that you've received? And then
a toxic compliment.
like, you know, if you're like, this is not right, but you kind of dig it. What you got, Smooth?
You know what? I don't know if I've ever really received a toxic compliment. You know, one of the other things is that because of what I do and because it's like in the poetry world or whatever, it's like people feel like they can't really approach me with nonsense.
Oh,
Okay.
And I think
so
that
you have an aura already set on and a bias kind of like.
yeah, so it's like I get shielded from a lot of the nonsense, right? So I don't get random messages in my DMs and stuff like that because people have this idea, oh, he's a poet, so you know,
not a man.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, you know, I got to approach on an intellectual kind of vibe, right? So I can't even think.
What if the woman put on with like an intellectual kind of vibe? I've gotten this before, and this is from an older woman. She's like, "Too bad you're not into my type of genre." And I was like, oh shit. Like my left nipple moved when she said it. I was like, this is different. I was like, I've never been spoken to like that before, whatever, right? I gotta think it. That I want to quantify in the toxic. For me, the toxic, like I had a woman and stuff whatever tell me, like, you know, like they're called fan clubs. I don't know what the hell. But she's like, yo, I love your skin. So I'm like, oh, appreciate it and stuff. She's like, you want to have babies? Like, our babies? I was like, you don't know me. I could have something. You could have something.
Yeah.
At least a dinner or something like that. You know, like, no, you just want to go straight for raw dog.
Right.
So I was like, that's toxic, but I kind of dig it though, because, you know, like skincare was a thing. I work on it, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't have, like, when you give that as an example, I don't have anything that I can think of that would fall into the category
until
of,
they
like,
hear this episode.
and all of a sudden, I'm like, what? This DM seems out of character.
Yeah. What about you, Smooth?
Yo, this is wow.
Taking you back?
High school.
Okay.
High school. I was walking in the halls, and this girl said to me, "Them jeans look mighty tight from the back. I wonder what's pushing up at the front." I was like, huh?
I like that. It's questionable. I like it though. It makes you feel a type of way.
It caught me off guard, I'll tell you that much.
All right. Wow. Let's get to the Ask the Sons portion and stuff and get ready to slide up out of here, man. All right, first question comes from Snowboarder 2000. What was ruined for everyone by one person being an idiot? When I saw this question, I thought about in one of my old buildings I used to live in.
Right.
We had, let's say there was 6 washing machines, right? There was 3 washers, 3 dryers. One was cheaper than the other 2.
Yeah.
And one dryer was free. You just put your clothes in, close the thing, and just press the button, you good to go.
Right.
Everybody just had like, you know, like if you lived in the building, you knew. So it's like, don't leave your shit in there permanently because your shit would just eventually dry out and start to shrink on you. Somebody told some other people that didn't even live in the damn building. So now I'm looking at stuff. I'm like, yo, I've never seen these people and stuff like before pop up in the laundry room. And there's a small low-rise building and stuff. You've been there.
Right, yeah,
my old building.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, I was like, yo, I'm like, yo, where do you live? They're like, oh, I don't live here. I live 2 buildings down. I was like, how you know about this? They're like, oh, the person cut a spare key and sold it to people and stuff. But like, they rented it. Like, you want to use a free washer and dryer and everything like that.
Wow.
I was like, and then eventually they caught on that they just put every machine to the coin thing. I was like,
yeah.
Stupid chick. One person ruined it for everybody. Tell me yours.
Wow. I mean, the original thought coming to my head is America.
That's so easy. That's so easy.
I mean,
that's an alley-oop off the backboard. Thoughts and prayers to the American people struggling right now.
Yeah, man, it's crazy down there right now. Yeah, I'm still thinking.
Go ahead.
I'll jump in while you think about it. I had this one job. Shout out to all the people who used to work at me at the Gap Distribution Center. We used to drive. They had these tall racks that we used to put boxes on, right? And if you drove on the trucks that drove down the lane, putting boxes away, the quicker that you put your boxes away and came back and got a new set, everything was timed. You get bonus for that, right? One person figured out that if he was at the very top, he can lean over and put a box on the other side and scan it. So you're timed between boxes.
Mm.
And it takes a certain amount of time to go down one aisle to come down the next.
Right.
But if you scan one box here and you scan on the other side, there's like, man, he did that 6 times faster than anything else.
Mm.
So now his score is like way up here. But people, the engineers was like, this is not possible. How could this happen? So one day they started watching him.
No shit.
And they seen what he was doing. And they said, okay, well, we can't trust none of y'all. The program just disappeared. So none of us was getting money for our good times.
Yeah. Dirt McGurn.
So I think I got booked to open up for some male strippers.
Wait, don't just draw past that. Like nothing happened.
And this wasn't the members only, right?
No, this was not the members only
They
show.
had their members, but that's a different story.
And yes, somebody was supposed to get the strippers to the venue on time, and they just didn't do it. So they were running late, and the promoters were like, "Yo, these women are getting antsy, so Dwayne, we got to send you out." And I got out there, and the women were like, take it off, take it. I'm like, yo, I'm just here to say a few poems or whatever. And the women were not having it. I was like, man, that was the worst. I'm like, dude, just get the strippers here on time.
That is hilarious.
So yeah, it was crazy.
I'm not mad at that, man. All right, next question comes from Zakia-Rose. What's a mistake that your parents made in raising you that you find yourself repeating on your child? What you got, Smooth?
Trust and not be where I said I would be.
What?
Trust and not be where I said I would be.
Oh, yeah. I think for me, it was something where like I find myself kind of yelling a lot to my son.
Yeah.
At certain amount of times and stuff for certain things when I'm looking like, I caught myself the other day. I was like, nah, I need therapy for that. It's kind of just, like, it was great. So, all right, what happened and stuff is where he would do something. I seen him do it thousands of times. Stuff like I want to say like in front of his mother.
Right.
And then one day he just got like super shy with me, whatever. I'm like, bro, I just seen you do it the other day.
Right.
Like, just do it right now. And then he's looking like, and I was like, well, we're not going nowhere. We're not doing nothing until you do it, whatever, right? I'm looking like, bruh. And then I was looking like, and I see him kind of startled. I'm like, oh, shit. I need therapy. So I was like, all right, here what? We're going to let this rock. Whenever you're ready, you let me know. And then eventually and stuff, he just like, da-da-da-da. He got everything like together. I was like, over an hour and 30 minutes later. But I mean, hey, you know what? At least you didn't get no fear. You didn't get the yelling. Because I remember the times when, like, my mom used to come at me and stuff with some other things. Like, Mom, you can't talk. Like, and like, I feel like I always had to be on 100. Had to be like militant and regiment type of thing and stuff. And I realized, like, yo, even if she told me to lighter weight, I still would have did it.
Right.
But just less fear.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing when I realized when it came to my son.
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to kind of be like yours around trust. Yeah, I think, you try to have this trust, like, with my daughter. And then one day I look on her phone thing and she's in Hamilton. I'm like, why would she be in Hamilton? You know what I mean? It's like,
right. Yeah.
What are you doing? You know what I mean? So I think it's like, you just trust that, oh yeah, you're in your room or you're here or whatever. And she's plotting some elaborate scheme to be checking friends over here and there. And I'm like, yo, what is really happening here? So yeah, after that, I had to rein things in a little bit. Be like, no, we can't move like this.
No doubt. All right, last question comes from DJ Rocky. What is it? What's your I'm calling it now prediction? Toronto will have an Indian mayor or Indian descent mayor before a black mayor.
I can see it.
Yeah, I could
I can
see it.
I can see it.
Because I think, I thought like even with the UK side and stuff, I always would have thought like the mayor of London would have probably been like a black person and stuff, or several black people in there before I saw an Indian mayor. Right? And then I'm looking at it stuff, I'm like, and then I took in like the landscape and the demographic is pretty much similar to Toronto and London is pretty much similar. So I'm like, if it happened over there already, it's bound to happen and stuff over here.
Okay. I will say the Toronto Tempo win a championship before the Maple Leafs.
Ooh.
Oh shit. Dear hockey people, don't feel the type of way from the facts.
Listen, we might get an all women's hockey organization before the Leafs win.
Like I heard the Leafs haven't won since like there was like what 6 leagues in the.
It's
6
over
teams in the league?
like 50 years, man.
Yeah.
Since they last won, yeah.
Yikes.
My prediction is I will have a EV from China than I will have one from the US.
How much is the import fee? I'm asking for a friend.
The import fee right now is 100%. But we see what's happening with all those Teslas and the Tesla factories right now. The sentiment is not too nice, and they want to take away American cars from Canada.
I was about to say, how's the vandalism rate here? Is it as high? I know it's not as high as
not as high, but the
vandalism rate is climbing for Teslas here?
A few have been in Montreal.
Sacre bleu.
They've actually we've already had our auto show, but I've heard like with some auto shows they're not inviting Tesla. They're telling them to stay away because
they Tesla,
they don't want any of the protests happening during the auto shows.
Okay.
And we don't make Canadian cars, so Chinese will probably be the next best option.
Why not? Like I look at it as like the technology is here, the know-how, and all the above. Wouldn't it be a time to like kind of ain't no time like the present?
It would be, but I think we're probably better off building refineries first.
Agreed. Well agreed. Oh my gosh. These guys, why haven't they done that before?
I couldn't tell you, man. That left state's titty was too good to them.
And now they're paying for it.
Now they're paying for it.
All right, man. We are here at the end, man. Dwayne, you want to tell the people stuff how to find you again into the new ones?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. On socials, it's Dwayne_Morgan, DWAYNE. Website, DwayneMorgan.ca.
All right. And let them know tickets are still available. Tell them what websites and everything.
Yeah, Ticketmaster for tickets for When Sisters Speak. And just check my website or socials for any other events.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me.
Anytime.
It's always a pleasure.
Doors always open to you, man.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
So Say the Suns this week. We're going to hit them with that, and then we can just cha-cha slide out of here. So Say the Suns this week says, keep it simple. We don't make excuses for adults. So say the Suns. Accountability is a hell of a thing, and I think like a lot of people need to start holding themselves accountable to their actions and their choices and their decisions, and understanding that it actually does start from you, and everybody does have a choice. So say the Suns. All right, man. Once again, man, we appreciate you, man. Please come back again.
Anytime.
Bless us with the knowledge and the know-hows and all the above, and you're always welcome and celebrated on this side.
This side,
I appreciate it.
Right.
We might have a statue for you the next time you come through.
I got one in the closet. On the low. All right, man. Once again, thank you everybody for listening to the Podical Sons. Like, comment, subscribe, all the above, all streaming platforms possible. And yes, Thank you for listening to the Podical Sons. We appreciate all of you who can see us and who cannot see us and stuff. 300 episodes strong and still counting. Remember, folks, the difference between genius and stupidity is that genius has its limits. Peace and love, y'all.
Peace.
Take care.
Peace.
The Podical Sons with not your average Joseph and Sofa King Marvelous.